And here we go, right here, Everything Combat, ladies and gentlemen. Jeffrey Wilson sitting in the pilot seat once again. Everything Combat, because life is a fight. And I'm super stoked. My guy here, we've had him on several episodes of Everything Combat as we move into May 7th and 8th. Chain reaction right here, live and direct from the River Center right here in downtown Davenport. He is the El Jefe of Caged Aggression MMA. He's Mr. Mike Goodwin. How we doing, my friend?
Good, man. First time like face to face.
I know, right?
This is cool. It's different.
Absolutely. And we're all trying to refine our process and elevate our game, just like Caged Aggression has. Man, we like I said, we have in another event, Chain Reaction, coming up May 7th and 8th. Just briefly, if you don't mind, because we just came off the very first ever history-making 3-night pay-per-view event right here in the River Center. Man, that was amazing. Triple threat. Give us your thoughts on how, a little post-mortem on how that went, my friend.
Man, I left that weekend. First of all, I expected to get out of that weekend like, man, I don't want to think about MMA for a year, you know. But honestly, and I said this in the fighter meeting on Saturday night, the third night of it. I said, you know, I expected to just be overwhelmed and this, and I actually had this. I compare it to like summer camp. When you first get there and you get dropped off, you're like, oh, man, I don't really know too many people. It's going to be a long summer, man. Yeah. And then by the time you're leaving, you're like shedding tears and you made best. You're like, man, I don't want this to end. So that's kind of how it felt was, you know, it was just so nonstop. Once we kicked off that first weigh-in and everything was set up when we were ready, the behind the scenes and the particulars and paperwork and all that stuff was all done. And now it's just managing and getting through it, but it was just an awesome ride. It was just awesome all weekend.
Even the whole lead up to it. I mean, it was just, and you know, if you, not to digress too much, but I mean, 2020 was a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Especially as a fight promoter. Yeah. You know, March was like 2020. You were about to have your event, and the event got canceled, and you're like, oh yeah, really? And then you went September, October, November, back to back, you know, months of just incredible matchups, man. And the cool thing about being a part of this, and again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of it, you know, you're just bringing in so much talent. This is no outlaw mud show, no events that happen at strip clubs, you know, no disrespect for anybody who's doing these kind of events. I mean, we're having veterans from the UFC, Bellator, LFA, either coming from those promotions or from their success here at Caged Aggression, going on to those promotions. So, I mean, if you don't mind, just what is it like for you as the promoter, especially not just 2020, but in 2021? You know, you have obviously an affinity and a love for this sport, but just what is that like for you dealing with setting up your fight nights? People drop out, people jump back in. Give us your thoughts on just that fluid nature of trying to promote and keep these fights going.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, like, man, I don't know how you do it, or I could never do what you do, or this and this. But I think it's like anything you're passionate about. When you dive in and you give 100% to it, of course there's going to be struggles along the way, you know, and you know, I see some promotions or promoters that, you know, somebody gets injured or somebody just changes their mind, you know, and backs out, and you pick the wrong one and they start blasting them publicly. And I've always like brought it back to a normal level. You know, if I owned a grocery store and I had 20 employees, a couple of them are probably going to suck. You know what I mean? It's just the nature of how it works. So, but am I going to go on every time an employee doesn't do his job and blast him and whatever? No, I'm going to keep all that behind the scenes and I'm just going to kind of ride the wave. But my favorite quote is probably, I absolutely love this sport. I think it shows in the last decade and what we've done and the things we've been through. But I do hate the business. I mean, I absolutely love the sport, but I do hate the business side of things. It's just it's kind of a cutthroat, grimy business. You know, at times you feel like it's you versus every other promotion as opposed to working together, which is how I always wanted it to be, like work around each other's dates, you know, and open up more opportunities for the fighters and the fans. But it's just not that kind of world. It's just everybody kind of trying to their own thing. Like it's just about them. So I would say overall, it is a struggle because we don't just put guys and girls in the cage. We promote them and present them when we build a lot of tools and a lot of things behind the scenes for them that takes a lot of time and money. And so when somebody drops out, I've always been like, regardless if you are the local or semi-local guy or girl, once you commit to me, I fully commit to you back. So if your opponent backs out, I don't care if you're coming from New York. It's my responsibility to fill that fight at all costs.
Yeah.
And usually that turns out being at our costs. But at the end of the day, you committed to me. I fully commit back. And I think that's important. And kind of sticking with that over the years really is one of the things that's helped us grow, is that people know that, look, Mike and his team are in this for the right reasons. There are countless things that we provide that most don't. You could just put that money in your pocket. I believe we all need to eat. That's how this thing works. That's how we keep the train moving forward. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, I think any job that I would have is going to have its ups and downs and struggles. But there's not a job out there that I can imagine that you start from scratch, you start building this out, you literally create everything from the color scheme to the theme to the fight card to everything, and to see it all come together on fight night, there's no feeling like that in the world, and there's no job that I can go do that's going to give me that same reward. So it's not a financial thing. I mean, we have to profit to keep the thing going.
For sure.
I'm not obviously getting rich off of the thing. I don't know what the next thing brings, but I know that we're into our 11th year, which is pretty cool for a sports entertainment business to last 11 years. It's above average for sure.
No, without a doubt.
So I think that's just, I love it, man. I love the passion, and it definitely trumps the struggle.
Well, and that is, obviously the agony and the ecstasy of being a fight promoter. I mean, and that's who you are, having to deal with the ups and downs. But it's so cool, man, having just kind of linked up with you. I mean, I've been very familiar with Cage Aggression for a very long time, but being a part of it myself and our whole crew, it's been amazing to watch the exponential growth. Like I said, you have, veterans from the LFA, Bellator, UFC coming here, and based off of the success here, go on to some of those promotions. And it's been really cool for me to see, like we have Eric Shelton coming up on this next card. He's fighting with American Top Team. You've had Eileen Villalobos. You've had just certain individuals from Jackson Wink. I mean, Jackson Wink is the camp where Holly Holm comes from. She knocked out, Ronda Rousey, where the greatest of all time trains, John Bones Jones. Give me your thoughts on not just recognizing, as you grow, you're starting to bring in some of these big promotions, or these bigger camps, but your relationship with these camps to get these guys and gals to come in. Like you talked about, you've had to turn down so many different people. You've had people from these very prominent gyms willing to fly their people in, put them up to be on the platform of Cage Aggression. Talk to us a little bit about your relationship with these gyms.
Yeah, that's been, it's really been kind of humbling, man, because when I first got into the sport and the business, I realized right away it was dirty and it's cutthroat, and people already have their relationships, and you're an outsider. And all I did was get into the business with ideas that I thought would be better. A better presentation for the fighters, most definitely better for the fans, so they got their money's worth. When we build a show, I try to build the event as if I was buying a ticket. What would I want to see, right? Because that's going to make me want to come back, and it's going to make me a fan. And I tell people a lot, like my boy and I are big hockey fans, and we didn't grow up around hockey. We're in Iowa, so we're just not, it's not a hockey world. And then we go to our first game and we were hooked. And now, we play deck hockey and we go to every game. We just drove to Dubuque just to be able to go to a hockey game because everything's shut down. So, I try to build the event like that, from a fan perspective. But the reality is that I'm competition, especially at a local, regional level. So I understand why at first it was hard to gain any respect. And I'm going to tell you a story from year number 2 specifically. I was so nervous that I finally got to work with a fighter at Hard Drive. Right, and I'm only 2 years into this thing, and so I take our little cameras, because I always thought, like, why not take cameras into the gym and show people, like, there's so much more to this than 15 minutes in the cage. Absolutely. Man, right? Show them that they actually are real people, and the time they sacrifice and the work. So anyways, we start taking cameras into this gym, and they're like, who are these guys, right? And as I'm leaving, and I met Keone, the owner and former fighter, and he says to me, when I'm leaving, I said, I just like I told you, I just want to do it better. I've been to a lot of local shows, and I just think that needs more attention to detail and needs to be done better. He's like, I said, I'm really just a fan. I've never fought. I'm not a coach. I'm not a manager. My only vested interest is to try to put on a great show. And he says to me, just how Keone is, very just monotone and kind of look you dead in your eye. And he says, say that in 5 years.
Longevity.
And I'm like, whoa. And I don't forget that, because I actually use that as motivation. Like, he's probably right. He's seen the grimiest and the dirtiest of the dirty. He's seen it all. He's been in it so long, and he's been taken advantage of by promotions, and he's seen what the business side really is.
Yeah.
I really hadn't yet, except for that nobody really wanted to help me. So, you know, and I've told him this story, and then 5 years later, I'm like, we're still here, man. You know, we're still here. And as the thing continues to grow, when I said earlier, it's hard for me to ever think about doing anything else. There are times where I challenge myself. Should I be providing more financially for the family? Why put the extra weight on my wife? And I know I should be out making more, whatever, whatnot. That's besides the point. But again, like, as these milestones keep happening and things keep growing, and now, like you said, I'm speaking with world-class gyms all over the country and managers from those gyms. Like, what do we got to do? We've heard great things. What do we got to do to get our guys on? It's like, man, am I ever going to be able to do anything else? Because like, I already love when it all comes together, but now I'm not the guy that doesn't get the return call. I'm not the guy that feels intimidated to talk to the UFC or to Bellator or to these management companies. You know, I get to work with management companies that have 100 fighters in the UFC, and I tell them, why are you calling me, man? Like, why? And they're like, dude, everybody knows about cage aggression. They want to come fight, you know?
The words have even come out of Dana White's mouth.
It's so, I mean, yeah, man, it's like, why stop now?
No, absolutely.
You know?
I mean, you're killing it. You're absolutely killing it. I mean, I think it's, you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know what I mean? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
So again, there's so many people that through fear or just whatever hesitation don't take that first step, which you took 10 years ago. And oftentimes they're very protective of their baby, like I know you are, because it's hard for people to kind of have that foresight of like, man, where am I going to be 5, 10 years from now? And here you are, 10 plus years with an incredible promotion. You have two, I don't care if Jens isn't in the Hall of Fame or not, you have two UFC Hall of Famers, veterans, former champions commentating your fights.
For sure.
And then you see the influx of all of this talent coming here. You're clearly doing something right. And piggybacking on that a little bit, you know, we just saw, Logan Paul, right? Logan Paul, Jake Paul, one of those two guys, you know, and even like 10, however many years ago, Joey Buttafuoco versus XYZ, you're seeing some more of these celebrity fights. And, you know, and people are interested to see them. Give me your thoughts, if you don't mind, on the kind of this growth of this. You know, we were talking about Mr. Paul beating Ben Askren. Ben Askren may not be a striker at all, may not be a big MMA guy, even though he did win titles and won championship. I mean, the guy's wrestling background, his pedigree is absolutely amazing. And this, you know, Paul gentleman comes in and kind of, for lack of a better term, shocks the world. Give us your thoughts on, you had called them commodity fights before, you know, celebrity fights, et cetera. Give me your thoughts on how that's never going to replace real MMA, real boxing, but give us your thoughts on how these things are just taking off and so many people love to see them.
Hey, you know, I try not to raise my children how I was raised, because times are changing. They change. They're so different than when I was a kid in every facet, man. And so is the sport, and so is entertainment. And you've got to be willing to open your mind to things like that. And so it's growing on me, because it's what people want to see, right? The difference with me is I want it to be credibility. Yes. I want it to have credibility in the matchup. I want it to be legitimate. I don't want it to just be a money grab, where you're literally taking money from people. Now, look, it's not my job to spend your money. If you want to watch it, great, but don't buy it and then critique exactly what you knew was going to happen when that's how it was built. That's why it was built that way. So as long as it's legitimate and really both guys have the ability to win that fight, or both girls, I'm all for it. I mean, let's go back to MTV and the little claymation celebrity deathmatch, right?
Yes.
I mean, people want to watch celebrities fight, man.
Even if they're not even human. They're, you know, made of clay. No, absolutely.
They did. I won't forget it. You'd see like, oh, I like this celebrity and I like this one. And you start rooting for these little clay characters and stuff, man.
Well, and the gore and the shit getting shit chopped off. It was always fun to watch.
So again, evolved. Although technology and events and life and everything's evolved, the love for that obviously hasn't. It's just maybe different now. So people want to see it.
Well, and it kind of, you know, is whatever the word is, it goes to our kind of, even MMA or boxing. Like, I've always been a combat fight fan. It's kind of our primal nature,
sure,
if you will. And like you said, how things evolved, you know, I don't mean to get too dark about it, but you're seeing children, very young kids, this online internet world. Kids are taking themselves out because they're getting bullied online, et cetera. And you go back to things like Mike Tyson said, we're getting too used to talking shit online without getting punched in the face.
Sure.
And one of our commentators, the first ever lightweight champion for the UFC, Jens Pulver, has talked about this as well as a huge word that just gets missed from all this. And that's a level of accountability. People aren't being held accountable for talking all this shit. And again, not everybody is necessarily made to step in the cage to atone for their words, but something that's in our circle, former UFC presently UFC Hall of Famer, former UFC welterweight champion, Hall of Famer, trainer of champions, Pat Miletich, has been getting a little bit of grief from a gentleman by the name of Mike Jackson. Pat trained Mike Jackson to fight a guy by the name of Phil Brooks, who was known as CM Punk in the WWE, and Mike couldn't even finish him off. But with a video we're about to watch here in a second, Mike Jackson was approached and was saying, there's some fight promotions that would like to see you and Pat possibly fight a kickboxing match, not necessarily MMA. Pat's, no slouch. You know what I mean? He still has the skills to take you out. So before we get too much deeper into this conversation, I want to show everyone and show you, if you haven't seen it already, it was a video on Instagram that Mike, the Truth Jackson, posted about a possible matchup with the champ, Pat Miletich.
Had a promotion contact me saying I should do a kickboxing match with Mike Jackson. Said it could make us millions. I laughed and said, Mike's sorry ass couldn't do 3 rounds with me. Fun thought though. Pat Miletich says he's riding off into retirement, but now he's challenging me to a kickboxing match? Pat Miletich is completely delusional. And is probably really punchy at the moment. For him to even think at however age he is right now, that I wouldn't completely dog walk his ass in a kickboxing match. Look, Pat, this is not for you, dude. You told me you was done. You told me you was retiring. You said I had motivated you with that last video to go sit your old ass down somewhere. Go sit your old ass down somewhere. Unless you really want to get beat the fuck up. I don't know. Stop. I bet you believe that General Lee made all those jumps across the bridges, right? Sad.
So this individual who couldn't even finish Phil Brooks, CM Punk, has the fucking unmitigated gall to speak this way about Pat Miletich. I don't give a fuck how old Pat is. Pat will murk a motherfucker. The guy has the tools to definitely take this, in my humble opinion, I'm biased because I've got mad love for Pat, but to take this gentleman out. But, give us your thoughts on, and again, this is separate from caged aggression. This is not necessarily something you would promote as a caged aggression fight, but myself and my business partner, Justin Holstein, and even Pat, we've talked about, I know there's street beefs out there, and we got something called tweet beefs, which is, stop talking shit online. All these keyboard warriors, and again, not everybody's cut out to step into the cage and handle their business. But again, this is a legitimate beef, and he goes back to that word of accountability. For him to have the hubris to make such statements, I'm going to walk the dog with Pat Miletich? Straight up? Really? Pass what the fuck you're smoking, dude, because I want some of it. Straight up. So, just give us your thoughts on something like that. Again, not that something this would happen under the umbrella of caged aggression, but something like this. You talking about legitimacy of a matchup. What are your thoughts on something like that?
Well, I guess it's hard not to be a little bit biased. Obviously, we Pat's on our team, and I've been a big fan, and I live here and he lives here. So as I've been trying to grow this thing, he's been instrumental. He's helped, train some fighters through the thing. And now he's calling the fights, which is amazing. On this, so here I got 2 things to say. One time I walked into the gym and, I got my workout plan ready in my head and I run into Pat. And unfortunately, he had just gotten there too. And he says, hey, want to do my workout with me? And he's like, a little easy one. And I said, sure. Well, an hour later, man, I could barely walk. I wanted to puke. I was a mess. I looked stupid. There's sweat everywhere. And he had barely breaking a sweat. Now, where that ties into this is that he's just a different animal than most people know on the surface. The man he's an absolute beast. He's regardless of his age, he is a machine, and he is committed to keeping that machine going as long as he possibly can. He realizes he's getting older, but go do an hour workout with him. I don't care what age you are, what type of athletic ability you have, go do a 1 hour workout with him and you'll know why he still can say the things that he says. Now let me add a second thing, which I talked about earlier, and that's passion. Give him something that he's passionate about. I think the whole world knows when he's passionate about something, you know he is, right?
Yes.
Now, so if he has a fight like that with somebody saying something like that, I already know what he's going to do in the gym.
Yeah.
Add some passion behind that and a goal. That's a fight, and that's not a commodity. That's a legitimate matchup that deserves legitimate promotion, legitimate pay-per-view abilities, legitimate everything behind it, because that's not a commodity fight. That's a legitimate, great matchup between, obviously, two guys that have beef.
Without a doubt. And again, there's something very, very truly organic about it. And it's something that, like I said, our business partners are really trying to shoot for. As much enmity, Jake Paul, I think is his name, Jake Paul or Logan Paul, I apologize if I forget which one it is, have against him. He just knocked out Ben Askren, a world-class athlete, within seconds of the first round. And he, granted, the NBA player who he knocked out probably had no fight experience, but he still knocked him the hell out. And again, it just raised his marquee value to now where he's talking to Floyd Mayweather, he's talking to Daniel Cormier, which is just completely nonsense on his part. But again, the world is his oyster right now based off of his successes from that. But again, going kind of back to what we're trying to build with a Tweet Beefs, is not like these kind of freak shows, but it's legitimate competition. And again, going back to what Jen was saying, a certain level of accountability, man. You can't just talk this. I guess you can. One of the laws, of Newtonian laws of physics, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Some people won't feel it. They won't necessarily feel that this reaction coming from what they've said. But these conversations between Pat and Mike have been out there and they're gone viral. So I definitely would love to build the foundation of Tweet Beefs on something like this, and then that lends itself to all the other ones that we can hopefully put together.
Sure.
With your help would be great. If not, I just want to get your thoughts on it because it is definitely a thing. Like I said, in March, hats. From even last year, 2020, September, October, November, my hat has been off to you, sir. You've been fighting the huge fight, these Herculean efforts to keep putting these fights on, and March was absolutely no exception. You made history. Shout-outs and kudos to you, and here we are in May. I believe you had said in a previous interview you're kind of going to take a break during the summer. Talk to us a little bit about what's next for Caged Aggression.
Yeah, let me before I forget, let me point something out too. I do these interviews and stuff, and social media it's heavy on the boss. It's heavy on the guy that takes the risks. But at the end of the day, I didn't go through all these efforts. All of us did, from the fighters to the coaches to the fans to you guys, the team. You are taking time out of your life to be a part of what we're trying to get to do here. And so as much as I seem to get all the credit, I think it's very important that everybody knows that I'm beyond thankful, because you guys were there for every one of these things. I can come up with an idea, I can come up with a date, but it takes an army to make what we do when the lights turn off happen. And so first and foremost, thank you, man. Thanks for having me here today. Thanks for all the involvement and time.
Appreciate that.
Time is money, and time is one thing we can't get back. So to invest all this time into us and me and my family and my goals and dreams, dude, that's incredible. So thank you for that. With that being said, yeah, here we go again, man. This is 11 nights of fights in 8 months. I did the math, 213 different fighters from 22 different states, 37 different gyms. This isn't amateur anymot man. I have to sit back and go, holy shit, man, what did we just do? Because I'm not that type of guy where I don't get a big head. I stay very humble because I'm thankful that I tried something 11 years ago and here we are still. So I guess, man, to me, March, nothing about March 5 weeks later going into May makes business sense. But ever since they gave us the green light to start doing shows again, nothing's made business sense. Nothing's been logical. And I'm okay with it because you know what? We're doing it. We're getting it done. We're providing opportunities. So really what March was, I want to try something bigger and badder than we've ever done. Hundreds of fighters want to be a part of what we're doing. I put out an announcement and literally over 350 fighters wanted to fight in March. So what that told me was, we're not done, man. I need an extension from March to provide some more opportunities. Will we knock it out of the park? Will we be able to have 3 months to plan it? Will we have all of that structure that we like to have? No, but everything's unorthodox right now. I'm capitalizing on, what's the best way to say this? The powers that be, for some reason, have more power than is, to me, inhumanly possible right now. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with it, to the point where I'm going to fight back. I'm going to push back, and I'm going to continue to do what we do, because there are lots of people that want it and lots of people that need it. You know, it's not even just a want, man. People need companionship, and they need shows, and they need fun, and the fighters need to fight, and the gyms need their fighters to fight. And there's this whole ripple effect. So without getting political, man, fuck the bosses. Fuck all these people telling us what we can and can't do, telling me I can't run outside without a mask. I'm outside in my neighborhood. The school tried to tell me I couldn't run a mile with my son. I'm like, it's my neighborhood. I will never be told by anyone, not even God, that I can't go outside and run with my child without a mask on. So all of that being said, I wasn't done, man. I'm exhausted. I do need a little break. My kids especially, they really need dad back for a few months, like all the way there.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm there, but I'm not there.
I got you.
But I didn't think we were done yet, man. I know things are starting to open up. I know states are going to start allowing shows. And I do want these teams I've been working with, you know, a lot of them, they have a home show or a couple home shows, and I feel terrible for these guys. They're still shut down. So I'm really kind of, you know, an extension from March to give more opportunities. It's almost like a 5-night event. It's so close to each other. And then take a few months off just to give the area a break, allow these other shows to happen again so they can make some money and feed back to the gyms, allow fighters to fight closer to home. But I think that there had to eventually come a time where I said, we can't keep doing these every month, because there is a business side to the thing that we have to, you know, keep under control. But yeah, man, once I realized maybe like mid-January that I've got over 300 fighters wanting to be a part of what we do, and I've got room for 60, we can't be done yet.
No, and you're absolutely not. And again, one of these things that differentiate Caged Aggression, you know, from many promotions, there's a many variables, but when you have Dana White literally on air on his show, The Ultimate Fighter, I think it was, mentioning Caged Aggression, regardless of people wanting to fight in their hometown, and I get that psychology, you know, let people make money in their own home, that's still not Caged Aggression. And I'm not sure, and I'm sure you're beginning to become more and more aware that Caged Aggression is that next fucking level, my friend. You're fending off hundreds of fighters, like you said. You have so many different things about this promotion that beyond differentiate itself from other promotions. And that's really cool. I think that's a really kind of cool altruistic aspect of your personality. You know, shut it down here for a little bit, let people go fight in their hometowns. But again, they're not fighting off hundreds of fighters to come fight at their promotion. So with the inertia, with the energy we've built over these last several months, please, sir, let's get back sooner than later. Because I mean, this is it's a beautiful thing. You don't know it until you're seeing it happen. And this is your baby. You've been growing it for 10 years. I mean, again, you got Dana White talking about it. You got Pat. You got Jens. Your production quality is absolutely amazing. You got Justin involved. You got Paul Martinez. It's so next level, man. And I know you already know this, so I'm speaking to the choir. But please, sooner than later, my friend. Please, definitely sooner than later. Wow. I'm so glad that we could actually do this face-to-face, man. Ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be May 7th and May 8th, CagedAggression.tv. If there's a particular fighter that you like on the card that you've, you know, got a little shine to, please pick them up during the referral code. Otherwise, CagedAggression.tv. Other than that, man, where could we follow you, El Jefe? Any of your social networking, anything where we could follow your progress?
Yeah, man, I've tried, one thing I have tried to do is learn this whole analytics game. So if you just... I mean, everybody's Google. If you Google Caged Aggression, there are the first 10 links you can find us. I mean, whether it's our website, our pay-per-view website, Facebook, all the social media platforms, our website. cageaggressionevents.com, which pay attention to that, because when I came up with the name for our general website, Caged Aggression Events, Caged Aggression MMA was available. And you would think, well, why didn't you do that? Because back then, and it's been so long now, I thought that Caged Aggression could be an event promotion, not just an MMA promotion. So I left that open, and there's some ideas really buzzing right now, because if there's one Achilles with me that actually seems to work out, is that I'm never satisfied, man. Okay, we did a 3-night event. Now what?
Yeah.
What's next? How do we top the 3-nighter? So I've got some ideas swirling that may really tie into what Caged Aggression Events is.
Anything you want to tease, my friend?
One thing that really prompted me to get into this was when I worked for the IFL. I was introduced to the sport of MMA with big production and big presentation, and most importantly, legitimate fights where either fighter had the ability to win that fight. And when I started going to local shows, that was unheard of across the board. There was no production. Rarely was there a matchup that made sense. And the business model was just simply, if you're a local ticket seller, you fight whoever you can beat.
Right.
And I couldn't stand it, man. And I started going to other states and other shows, and I was like, man, this just seems to be the norm. So I said, we got to try to do this differently, right? And I think after a decade of showing what we can do with MMA, that there is the potential that we could put some caged aggression flavor on some other sports.
Nice. Uh-oh.
And
you heard it first
I'll
here,
leave it
ladies and
there.
gentlemen, at Everything Combat. And that's something I lamented so many times during the fights, the matchmaking that you do. There's never anything lopsided, man. It's always a very legitimately matchup, to lack of a better term. And if you want to go back, check us out on YouTube, the Cage Aggression MMA YouTube channel. You can watch the whole events. We've got fights broken down into individual fights. I mean, Juan Romero against Michael Shipp. You know, it was such an incredible knockout. Jens Pulver hit us with a holy shit. This jumped on Business Insider, went viral. But this is what we've come to expect here at Cage Aggression. And again, my friend, I thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of it, any of our team, and anything we could do to help you promote and keep this train going, man. It's absolutely awesome. I've been a combat sports fan pretty much all of my adult life. I forget when it actually started, but it's been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time, my friend.
Yes, sir.
It will be May 7th, May 8th, live here from the River Center in downtown Davenport Island. If you can't make it, cagedaggression.tv. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. And peace and so much love. Stay tuned. There'll always be more.